Hey everybody, it's your old pal Count Jackula from the planet Dracula, and I just wanted to record a little intro to the Jan Evrenol interview. As some of you know, on the stream this week, I had the director of Baskin, Jan Evrenol, and we had a nice hour-long conversation. But we had some technical difficulties when it came to actually putting the interview up. As you may have noticed, YouTube did not correctly process the stream, so it hasn't really been up except for the last 2 hours, which does not include the interview. Tried waiting a little while to see if maybe YouTube would catch up and reprocess it, but because it was a stream, I think a lot of that is missing. Now, here's the thing. I did have a backup recording while the interview was going on, but the first 4 minutes of it are unusable. But it turns out that if I download an SD version of the stream, I can get those 4 minutes. So that's why the first bit of the interview is in a really shitty resolution, and then all of a sudden it jumps up in quality. Just wanted to let you know that that was happening. Jan Evrenol was great. Yeah, I know it's spelled C-A-N. He actually says it. You kind of pronounce it either way. Anyway, we had a great interview, and it lasted over an hour, and he might come back at some point, which would be awesome if he did. Right now, obviously, as we talk about in the interview, he's editing his new movie, Housewife, which I'm looking forward to. We talk about that in the interview. And hey, without further ado, here it is. Yep, that is it.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, just to let you know, the fans of the stream collectively refer to themselves as the Slut Pit.
The Slut
The
Pit.
Slut
Okay.
Pit. So which I think is kind of awesome having you on, because your movie Baskin has a literal slut pit in it.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my God. Makeup is awesome, man.
thank you. I debated whether or not I was gonna wear it, but I was like, you know what? I interviewed Tony Todd in this makeup. I interviewed the director of Serbian film in this makeup, so why not just keep the tradition going? Besides, it's also Mardi Gras, and
Yeah. Cool.
Welcome, Slut Pitters, Fright Nights, and Monster Girls. I'm your host, Count Jackula, and with me today is Jan Evrenol. I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right?
Actually, it's actually pronounced as Jan Evrenol.
Jan Evrenol?
Jan.
Jan.
Yes, because like in Turkish, C is like a J, so it's pronounced as Jan. But like I'm used to everybody calling me Can when I'm abroad. So
Got it.
it works both ways.
Got it. And John is the director of the movie Baskin, which most of us only got to see late last year when it hit Netflix. And I've got to say, that is a gnarly movie. That is a wonderfully, beautifully gnarly film that you've made.
I saw your amazing episode on Baskin, and I really had fun. So it was really cool.
Yeah. One of the questions that I had about that film in particular is the scene when they run into the homeless family. I was wondering, are they Armenian? Was that the idea, that they were Armenian?
No.
No?
Why?
Okay, I was just curious. Because we couldn't
Okay.
actually in the American in the subtitles, they didn't actually translate what they were saying.
They
As
no, they didn't translate the last sentence, which the little girl speaks, right?
correct.
The rest is Turkish. And that very last sentence is not translated on purpose, just like to keep the mystery there. And it has
Ah,
a like they're meant to be frog hunters, right? That's how we came about with those characters, my co-writers and I. And
Sorry, did you say
since they were,
frog hunters?
yeah.
I I'm not. I understand what that means, but I wasn't. I don't didn't realize that was a thing. Like that's a thing in Turkey.
It's not actually, like
Oh,
we were thinking about like these we're thinking about this river as like this last gateway before the bridge kind of thing, you know? And these frog hunters who are there, like the villages when you approach to the Dark Tower in or the Saruman's tower in Lord of the Rings, you know, like before you approach the tower, you first approach to this village where it's like dark and people have gotten this disease to evil.
yeah.
Yes, they have changed a bit. So like also a bit like that little like old guy at the bridge warning you of the things coming up like ahead, you know. So like we were trying to come up with this mythological kind of like this poetic kind of thing that's gonna warn us what's gonna be. And somehow like my co-writer Jem, he came up with this idea. How about like they fall into this river and there's this like frog hunters, and then like it clicked with us very quickly because frog became one of the symbols of the film,
Yeah, yeah.
and the whole plot like revolved around us like getting together like night after night and like just throwing out ideas, meshing up ideas. So this frog hunters thing suddenly stuck, and yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I get it. Yeah. Um Now, a friend of mine did give me a translation, a rough translation for what the little girl says. Um,
Mm.
is He said that it was tonight the door will open. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Okay. So like here's some behind the scenes information for you.
Okay.
Uh, what the girl says is, "Happy those who walk to their death and not know it," or something like that. Okay.
Got it.
And then she was gonna say this in French. Okay. So we go to the set, and like there's this girl like saying. So she says this, and we dolly in. Take one, take two, and then my focus puller, she says, "John, like I speak French, and it doesn't sound anything like French." I'm like, "Really?" And she says, "Yes." I'm like, "Fuck." So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So we do it again and again, and then I said, "You know what? Like let's do it." Like I go to her. We do it once more, and like I'm not contained with the pronunciation. And then I say, "You know what? Let's do it again and again, and I'm gonna dub her. I don't care. Okay? I just want her feeling to be okay. I want her face to be okay, and then I'm gonna dub her." And then like we have the shot that I want, and then in the editing room, I'm like, you know what? This feels really like kind of mysterious and vague. I'm just gonna leave it like this. I don't care if it sounds actually French or whatever. I just want it to be ununderstandable anyway. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. So that's how went over with that scene.
Oh man, nice. Now, in previous interviews, you talked about the fact that Baskin was very much inspired by, among other things, the works of Lucio Fulci. Oh, The Beyond. I was about to say, like, there's so many shots in that movie that reminded me of The Beyond, particularly when the guy is trapped, is drowning, and there's that image of those hands coming in. You know,
Oh, did that remind you of Fulci?
it did. It did. Strangely enough, I don't know why, because Fulci did not ever do a shot like that.
Yeah, yeah, but actually, I was probably not really sure, but I was probably inspired by the Renaissance paintings from Italy, from like way before, you know. So there is an Italian somehow connection there somehow. I think. Count, I'm gonna go grab a glass of water. Is that okay?
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Go for it. I think I'm gonna do something similar.
All right.
All
Dude,
right.
I literally woke up like 10 minutes ago. Literally.
Oh man. Yeah. The time difference is pretty big. You know, it's currently like 8 a.m. where you are.
Yes, I set my clock to 7:55 for the first time in 3 weeks since the principal photography of Housewife.
Oh man, I can't thank you. I can't thank you enough. This is an honor, I gotta say.
No, thank you, man. I just watched your episode on that you're replying about this Muslim ban,
Yeah,
and
that was so
yeah,
weird.
man, you're awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. So I have to ask, like, what was the reaction in Turkey to what is going on in the United States at the moment? To
Mm,
that, to the whole, like, Muslim travel ban and all of that nonsense.
yeah. Well, actually, it's kind of irrelevant here, kind of like faraway news,
Right, right.
because what's happening so far here is like so dominant. The political news here is so dominant, you know.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of look all this stuff with Trump, kind of like funny to us, cause like it's like we're already been there 10 years ago, kind of thing, you know.
Oh,
It sounds a bit depressive, but like when I'm looking at my friends complaining on Facebook, my American friends complaining about Trump and all that shenanigans happen with Trump, like I'm looking, like all this stuff somehow it feels like a reoccurring dream. We had this with our strong man 10 years ago, and he's been here ever since. So
oh, geez.
it's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird. America is getting more and more Turkish, especially what happened with at the Oscars recently. The joke is like America is becoming more and more Turkish.
What about the Oscars made it more Turkish?
Yeah, that like that organizational fuck up, that's
Oh,
something very
yeah.
Turkish.
Ooh. Oh man. Yeah, Turkey's a country in a very odd situation right
It
now.
is. Yes,
I was really amazingly impressed that you got away with filming Baskin.
I know, I know.
Like I'm looking at this the entire time, and I'm like, I they could have been arrested for any of this. You know?
I mean, as we were shooting the scene where they entered the building,
Mm-hmm.
we're shooting this in an old train station, like a historical train station, abandoned huge building, uh, which is kind of considered how you say historical stuff. How you say that? Like this stuff which is historical and you're not allowed to touch it much.
Oh, it's oh, I know what you mean. The word
Yeah.
escapes me
Anyway,
as
anyway.
well, but it's definitely like it's protected. It's like it's a historic place. You're not supposed to
Some
touch it.
it's meant to be protected, but it's a ruin. And then
Oh, we
and
don't have a
then
lot of those in America. Country's not old enough.
yeah, yeah. Actually, like that's another thing. Like this city has been a city like like 7,000 years ago, 8,000
Yeah.
years ago. There's like ruins of like ancient civilizations, like 7,000 years before. So when it was really funny. Like when I was in Mexico, like we were going around in the pyramids and stuff, and they're talking about us all this um, historical information from 600 years ago, 700, and I'm like laughing. Where I'm from, like the museums start with like 6,000, 5,000 years before Christ, and here it's
Yeah,
only
yeah,
like
yeah.
600. So that was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. The
Yes,
artifact
as I
of
was saying, yes, we were shooting in the ruins, right?
Mhm.
But in the middle of the city, and then like we have our permission to shoot there and everything. We're official, but actually, the people whom we got that official permission from, they're not there to supervise. Like it's just like very think of it like a Mexican kind of like official, but not really official. There's this guy who's in charge of the situation. We kind of paid him a little, and then like my producers were always like a bit worried because if actually like a government official walks in like 3 a.m. to say, what the fuck are you guys doing here? And he sees all these like the blood and the people who were hanging and naked people around. They would be like, what the fuck? You guys get out of here. What are you shooting? So that was always like breathing down our neck if the officials like come in to check. How the fuck are we going to explain what are we doing?
Yeah. Huge risk, and hats off to you for having the balls to do it.
I mean, like, yeah, but my guys, like my production team, they're experts at like just getting around things. So.
Oh man.
That's what they do. Yes.
So, films like Baskin, what kind of effect did it actually have in Turkey itself?
In Turkey, it had like an interesting journey because it landed somewhere in between. Because in Turkey, there is not. It's unfortunately there is no genre cinema properly the way we know it. There's all these like super shallow box office movies. Super shallow comedies or super shallow mafia movies, which are like the same cut, inside the box, stupid stuff. And then there's very art house, slow festival movies. And then there's not much in between. There's not much, genre movies with an artistic approach, with a soul, like personal projects, passion projects. Personal passion cinema projects in Turkey usually. They don't touch genre.
Well, yeah,
so
I
that's
imagine,
why, like,
yeah.
that's why Baskin landed in somewhere in between, which is good and bad.
How was it good?
And it was good because it was something different. It was something very surprising. It was something transgressive, which I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and how was it? And how was it bad?
It was bad because it was also good because it went under the radar because it's a horror film. I mean, Baskin suddenly became popular in Turkey because it was released in TIFF, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I read that.
So like all of a sudden people like, oh, there's this like Turkish horror movie which premieres in TIFF. Wow, that's awesome! Like, oh, there's this Turkish horror movie which is sold to the States, and then like that's all they know. So when my film premiered in a midnight screening in like the top festival in Turkey, soon after Toronto, like it was full. It was a full house, and then like towards the end of the movie, like some celebrities started walking out.
Oh yes, that's the best. That's the best.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, that's how you know your movie works.
Yeah, it worked out, and me and the actors are there, and there's this like really famous guy, and like we just like came to eye, and he's like, "Guys, I'm sorry, congratulations, but like I really can't take it, And then like we took photos and put it to Twitter, and like we had fun with it, which was really cool.
Oh man, no, I was the minute that movie, when I saw it, the minute it started, I was just glued to the seat, and I had the biggest grin on my face the entire time. I loved every minute.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, especially I think my favorite scene was the birth sequence. The birth sequence was when I almost lost my mind. I was so deliriously happy. I was like, this scene is amazing. I love it. How often do we like that? That's got to be one of the gnarliest scenes I have ever seen, and I loved it.
I really liked it too.
Yeah. Oh man. Like there's actually a lot about Baskin, even though it's a completely different type of movie, that reminded me a lot of Serbian film, because the country and the political climate that it's made in is so key to understanding the story, but at the same time, it has the symbology and the meaning. The real story is it's a national tale taken to an international, almost universal level. which is really hard to do. You know, I don't think that that's very easy.
I mean, yeah, it's actually it's a subjective personal take how Turkish this is or not. Because like I'm sure like unintentionally you have a level of like over orientalizing it, looking from a Western perspective. You know, all the stuff, all the iconography happening in Baskin.
Hmm.
And sometimes I think like people are putting too much cultural importance to some of the details. And then sometimes when I'm thinking some Turkish people, they think, oh, this is like just too westernized. This is just too like a genre iconography rather than um, an iconography of its own. So like I'm like again. I'm feeling somewhere in between because many of the stuff, as we were doing the movie, we meant them to be just Lovecraftian,
Yeah, yeah.
We meant them to be coming from like various different sources, like feeling like different kind of stuff, but not really actually connecting to one particular culture.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if there was a Lovecraft influence to the story because it reminded me a lot of like, the Shadow over Innsmouth, all these weird looking people. There was all this frog imagery,
Sir.
and oh my God, the guy who played Father. I read in Rue Morgue that that guy is like a local parking lot attendant.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah. He was he could have gotten every line wrong because I saw it in subtitles and don't understand Turkish, but just watching that man emote was amazing. It was so fantastic.
Yes, actually, I think he did a really good job on his acting, and I thought like I was gonna dub him, but once we got the principal photography done, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna use his own voice because he did a really good job, and then I made him dub himself. Obviously, we did some ADR, but so like we kind of like touched the voice a little, but that's his own voice, and like he did like an amazing job. I was so happy, so proud.
Yeah. Just listening to his intonations actually was hypnotic.
Yes.
I really, really loved it, because he's got this really, really deep voice, and maybe you touched it up a little in audio, but like that
But he
voice
has
sounds
it.
really deep.
Yes, yes. No, no, it's not like a major like effects on it. No, he has his own deep voice, and how I met with him is interesting story. When I was doing Baskin the short, like my whole journey with Baskin started with a short film.
Right.
So like a month before I do the short, I watched Evil Dead remake, right? And in the
Oh,
beginning
yes.
it's one of my favorite remakes of all time. Like,
I have
think
to
it's like,
agree. I have to agree. I love that Evil Dead remake.
I don't know if it's like the blood rain at the end, like
Oh, yeah.
makes me fall in love with it all. But like I really like it. And in the beginning of that movie, you see this guy with a burned face. Like when there's this girl at the stake.
Yeah.
And so like I thought, I went to my casting director. He's a commercial casting director. I said to him like, so we don't have like a horror sub, like cast sub thing. So I said, like, can I find like a guy with a facial deformity or any kind of like stuff which would give me this kind of effect? And then he said, let me look. And then he comes to me like next day with an A4 size paper with like 5 printed images of like amputees and this and that. And then there's this guy, the father, which is this like seriously unique look. I'm like, like he's not really creepy the way I want, but like he's so interesting. I want to meet him. Like, and at the time I didn't have the time or the budget to like have a pre-meeting. So he just showed up on day of the set.
Oh, wow.
For the short film. And I thought like so he was just meant to be like an extra next to the wall. When the cops come in the short film, they see this like guy on the wall, and he's like And then he did it so good. And then like during the shoot, like I realized he's not just like a creepy face, but there's a very interesting personality behind it. And although he has zero experience in acting, he was very passionate, and he had a weird poetic way about him. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do a music video with him. So like I got his phone number, like we become like kind of like friends after this music video. I said, you know what, this guy can act. So I had the courage to write the father with him in mind. And as I was like writing father, I'm like, there's no way this guy's gonna accept this role. You know, he's coming from a conservative neighborhood, and you know all this crazy stuff in the script. But surprisingly, I sent him the script, right? And he strikes back with this. Hold on.
Oh. What? Wait, did he draw that?
Yes, he
Oh my
started drawing
God.
these like a talented 10-year-old crazy paintings, but like look at the attention to detail,
Yeah.
and look at how he uses the frame fully, and you know, and look at like his interpretation of stuff like in a kind of like in a surreal manner, and I just loved it. I'm like,
Oh
oh my
man.
God, I ran into a treasure, you know?
Oh God. Yeah, that is a gem. Wow. That
And then I thought, and then I knew I found the right person for this role. And then like I invited him over to my place a couple times. We watched Apocalypse Now. I showed him Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, Colonel Kurtz. And then like his reply to me, his feedback to me is watching that. He says, "Oh, but like Mr. John," he calls me Mr. John. But Mr. John, like we have to do the shadows like this as well. I'm like, oh my God, this guy knows his shit, you know?
oh my
So like he
God.
has zero artistic education,
Yeah,
but
no training.
he has a poetic heart. And he told me like because the way he looks, he has such a crazy life story. If I started talking about his life story, it would be like an episode on his own. But he said to me, like, when he was a kid, he saw Beauty and the Beast on TV, and he said, "Oh, this is my story. This is my story." You know,
Oh man. Yeah, yeah.
such an
Oh,
interesting soul.
yeah. I don't even know what to say. That's amazing.
Yeah, and after the shoot, after everything, I collected all his drawings. Look, this is a self-portrait of himself.
Oh man.
So we collected all his drawings, and like we did like a little exhibition in one of the coolest art, like small independent art galleries in Istanbul. And this is the booklet of this exhibition.
Oh wow. That's
Yes,
fantastic.
I should send you one of these actually. You
Oh
know
my
what? I'm gonna
God,
send you one.
please. Holy crap, yes.
Yeah, if you please like give me your address after the show.
I absolutely will. I absolutely will. No, I've got to have that. That looks amazing. You know? Oh, wow. I I don't even
So
know what to say. Yeah.
yeah, just send me your address. Where are you based, by the way? Where's the show happening right now?
I am in California. I am in San Francisco.
All right, I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
been. I want to visit. Really,
Oh,
yeah,
you never been to California?
yeah. I've been to LA twice, but
Ah,
never been
okay.
to.
It's I like I kind of I've lived here for like 20 years. You know,
Hmm.
I'm thinking of I'm probably going to be moving to LA myself sometime very soon.
Really?
Yeah, 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 really. You know, with luck, like it's all it all as long as fortune does not move against me, that's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because I actually kind of like LA. I found I actually kind of liked it because I visited it there several times during the course of running a show about horror and meeting meeting people that live down there and just being like, I actually kind of like this, you know. But hey, yeah,
it's special time.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So one of the things that you so I read several articles before coming onto the stream to talk to you. I liked that because you mentioned Apocalypse Now, you said that Father was supposed to be a combination of Jim Jones and Colonel Kurtz and Pinhead.
Yes.
Yeah, and you could see all of those influences. I thought that was really cool. Question is this actor, is he going to appear in Housewife at all, or is this completely...
No. At some point, I thought of like somehow implementing him into the story, but it was going to be like too forced, and
okay,
no, it just didn't happen. But like I hope and wish to be working with him very soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
and also like he landed a job in a TV series here, like in a costume drama actually. And he has a little following here. He didn't like make it big yet or anything like that, but like he became a local celebrity, and he quit his job at the at the car park. That's what I know. And we kind of like meet every once in a while with the cops and him. Like we go drinking, and yeah.
Oh man, you go drinking with the cops and him?
Yeah, the actors, yes.
Oh, the actors who play the cops in the movie. Okay,
yes.
Got it. I was like, does it get so wild you guys get arrested? You know, like oh man. Oh jeez. So
it gets really wild in that sense. You're like yeah, I don't know. I can tell you like crazy stories about bribing the cops and stuff, you know. Like one thing my US friends don't really understand at all, you know, like in terms of corruption, how things work. When I tell them that like bribing the cops in the traffic is something very regular here, then they're like, what? You know, which they cannot wrap their minds around. I think that's like a good, like a little example of how the whole thing kind of works here.
Oh yeah. I've traveled abroad, and yeah, you would not believe some of the things that happen. It gets really crazy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like I spend most of my time in Asia. In Asian countries. And,
where?
Well, mainly Taiwan. Because I have
all right. Do you have Taiwan heritage?
Heritage would be overstating it. My family was part of the rebel forces that were Chiang Kai-shek's people. So when Chiang Kai-shek lost to Mao Zedong in the Cultural Revolution, my family was part of that exodus.
Wow.
Yeah. They lost tons of stuff. You know, like the family was literally split apart along that political divide. You know, like my grandmother didn't see many of her own brothers and sisters for years, like decades. You know, literally could have no communication with them. You know.
And then they immigrated to the States?
Well, my grandfather was an ambassador. He became the ambassador from Taiwan to the United States, and he brought his family, and that included my father. So, yeah. So my father and grandmother still live in Taiwan. My grandmother's about to be 100 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, my grandmother's 7.
Yep. Yeah.
Can you hear about that? Can you hear me?
You cut out there for a moment. What was that?
My grandma, she's 107. I just visited her.
my
Yes,
God.
107.
Oh
Yeah, she
man.
was born. She was born in the Ottoman Empire, and she's like older than Turkish Republic.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's man, I bet is she still lucid? Because my grandmother is kind of is suffering from dementia a little bit, you know.
In for the past 2 years, no, her memory is kind of like gone now. She can only remember the very close family. But 3 years ago, when she was 102, 103, she was still like very much intact in terms of everything, and she can even speak English, which is very rare for a person over 100, especially for a woman in Turkey. So she's like a real treasure for all of us.
Oh man. Oh wow. Yeah. I feel a little bit I wish I could return that. I used to have a ring of Baphomet on my hand, but I misplaced it.
Ring of
Yes,
what?
Baphomet.
What's a Baphomet?
Baphomet. Oh, the devil. You know,
Okay.
the goat head of the devil, like, is often referred to as Baphomet.
Oh, the okay, Baphomet. Yeah, okay. There's this Polish metal band called Baphomet, right? I call them
Yes,
Baphomet.
Baphomet.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's same thing.
Yes,
Same
yes.
thing.
Okay. Cool. So how do you pronounce that? Baphomet, huh? Okay.
Baphomet. Yeah. Now, you brought up women in Turkey, and I know that your next film is an English language film. Is it? Where is it
Yes.
set?
Actually, it's set anywhere in the world. It's kind of like set in Istanbul, but like we never say that it's in Istanbul. It's like
Okay.
it's kind of like has its own place and time, I guess. But on paper, it's like um, a foreign woman married to a Turkish man in the States, and then they like immigrated back, kind of.
Got it. Got it. I
The whole
noticed.
story kind of like the whole story kind of takes place around the house and like in the personal space of the woman anyway. So there's not much interaction with the city and the culture around. It's more like a lonely, rich woman living with a weird, esoteric intellectual husband, uh, kind of a setting, rather than like integrated into Turkish culture.
Got it. Got it. So she's a little bit apart from everything, and that's kind of like why she's in the house all the time.
Yes. There's like a little hints here and there about the culture she's living in, but like it's not really like in focus.
Got it. Got it. It's really just more about her and whatever she's dealing with.
Yes, it's more about we had some exterior scenes removed because like it's always like a productional challenge anyway, and then I had to make choices, and I thought, like this place is getting like more and more like personal and like inside her mind, inside her house. I'm just gonna keep it into this interior more and more.
Oh man, I can't
And
wait.
this is a prop from the movie. I'm fidgeting, by the way.
Oh man. Oh man. So I have to ask, how did you get what put you on this path? What put you on the path to being a filmmaker?
Mm, all right. Can I grab another glass of water before we get into that,
You know
please?
what? I think I will do that as well.
All
Yeah.
right.
All
Okay.
right.
I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, here we are.
Is that a Mexican wrestling mask?
Yes, sir. I got this from Puebla.
Oh man. Oh, who was your favorite?
Mexican wrestler?
Yeah. Do you have one?
I wouldn't know, man. I wouldn't know. But like, I really like the Undertaker, and I really like the John Cena entrance tune. And I'm blown away by the documentary on Vince McMahon.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
And that's all I know about wrestling. Actually, no. I mean, like, I love the wrestler. I love Andre the Giant, and I love all these little stories about wrestling. But like, I never like watched the wrestling from beginning to end. It's more the shenanigans I'm, entertained with.
Yeah. The real thrill of being a fan of wrestling is kind of the ability to go, I remember when, and I was there when this happened. That's kind of like the thrill of being the hardcore fan. You were watching the pay-per-view where this happened when it happened, or you were in that audience and having that collective experience.
Yes.
So is it, oh God, I want to ask you a bit more about Turkey, if that's okay.
Sure, please, just poke it in.
Yeah. So what exactly is the social environment in Turkey? Because I don't think most people outside of Turkey know.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Turkey is like such a unique place in terms of its geographical situation and in terms of its like cultural situation. It's so unique, and like it's really difficult to like you have to like be here and have your own experience, because Turkey is like, first of all, it's very diverse. It's very diverse culturally. It's not like Brazil, where it's very diverse as like people look very different. But being Turkish itself is very diverse, coming from like different nations, from east and west and north and south. This country has been an empire on 3 continents, 400 years ago.
Yeah.
This is a descendant of Ottoman Empire, which was on Africa, all the Arabic Peninsula, like all the Middle East, some of Russia, all East Europe, and Northern Africa. Like imagine a huge empire, and it was the head of Islam too. Like once they conquered the Islamic place, the Arabic Peninsula, once they conquered them, they became like the Pope of Islam, the Sultan of Ottoman Empire became. So like anyway, but it was like more like a federal kind of empire. They didn't really impose their way of living. They just got their tax from many different places. And then once the Industrial Revolution took off in the West, Ottoman Empire started to stumble. And then, things changed. And with the rise of nationalism, all those federal, all those like mayors kind of like rebelled, and like the whole thing came apart. And at the at the end of the First World War, we were like this little tiny place invaded by 7 different nations, which is kind of like a puppet government, and it was all going down. And then there's this like a war of independence, and there's this new nation, suddenly new language, new alphabets. Like we were using the Arabic alphabet. It was an Ottoman alphabet, combination of Persian and Arabic. And then we're suddenly like new language, new rules, and then like it became modernized. Okay. But it was so sudden, and it was so like coming from the top. It wasn't like culturally soaked, and it wasn't like naturally evolved. So it became like kind of like an intellectual fascism,
Oh,
Suddenly, yes, suddenly the women take off their burqas and men take off their fez, and there's this new rule that you have to wear hats. You have to wear like Western people. No more Turkish music is allowed, and it kind of like starts off as cool, but then like if you don't wear a hat or if you listen to Turkish music, then like you get even hanged for it, you know. And then it becomes
What?
yes, it becomes really
Wow.
crazy. So. mm,
Wow. Like,
so like
and
some
that's not, and that's, is that, and that's not, the rulership from invaders. That's internally the people of Turkey.
no, like yeah, with the War of Independence, we have the savior, this super talented diplomat slash general who saved the country, and you know, and who became a new hero, who became the head of state, and then in a way, his persona, his cult, replaced the taboo of the Sultan. You know, so we had this like taboo of religion and the Sultan, and then whoosh, he wipes them out. So there's this new guy, you know, Ataturk, and he's very loved and respected and feared at equal measures. And then he becomes like the darling of a huge nation, and then he becomes this new thing. But then again, the thing continues because it's not like a natural transition to this new democracy. It's not really a democracy, so it took years and still time to that democracy to mature, you know.
Right.
And we went into the multiple party system soon after, but it didn't work, so they closed it. And then again, it was like a single party system. And then, like in the 60s and 70s and 80s, there were three military coups which fucked up everything. But still, you know, Turkey is like in the 60s and 70s, it was like a more. It's difficult to say if it was more modern or if it's more fascistic, because some things are getting worse and some things are getting you know, it's like a mixed bunch. It's really difficult to like put a finger on what's happening. So like, and all my foreign friends who come here and live here, it's very still like a puzzle to them. It's still like a mystery to them after years they live here. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What occupies such a strange place in world history, you know, particularly
Yes,
now.
yes. And now like you know, for the last 15 years, we have this like I don't know if you know the president of Turkey.
I do not.
No, there's this crazy guy, like crazy guy who's like who's very much like Putin and who's very much like Trump. And then like Berlusconi and like he's like a strong man, loved by the 50% of the country, and then hated by the other maybe 30% of the country. You know, it's like weird. He's trying to get more and more power, and we're kind of like afraid it's going to turn out like Chavez in Venezuela. And
Ooh.
but then again, the economy is like going really good for a certain part of society, but it's like about to like hit into a wall. And for the last 2 years, the economy has been really bad, but not as bad as Greece. It's really weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, like it's particularly interesting because all on the western side, uh
Yes, look, Deep Fryer knows him. Deep Fryer commenting there. He knows the president.
Erdogan, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, President Erdogan. Oh geez, yeah. God, you have to forgive me. My knowledge of Middle Eastern history is very muddled. It's not as good as
Yeah,
it should
I'm
be.
kind of embarrassed that people know him. Anyway.
But yeah, I was saying that Turkey's very interesting because all on the west and the south, surrounded by hostile nations.
Yes.
You know, you've got Syria to the south, you've got Iran and Iraq, like on the west, like you know, like even Georgia is not well. That's not like what you would call a hostile nation. Like there's a lot of tension between Turkey and Georgia.
Yeah, like I like tensions between Armenia and Turkey is super high. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
If you were in LA, if you were in LA, you would know this more because there's like a huge Armenian, you know, community there, and that they really like are upset and angry with the Ottoman Empire and what happened like a century ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Rightfully so.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They got those people got completely screwed. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
totally fucked. And you're just like, why? And it's like, well, just because someone was. It's one of the problems with war and political fighting, which is one of the problems is someone's gonna lose, and someone's gonna lose big, and that's really scary. Because you never want to be the one that loses big. You know,
Yeah, like, and history is always written by the winners, so it's like really weird.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is really weird. It's very strange. So it seems like, from what information I have been able to gather, that Turkey right now is going through a period where it's becoming more conservative,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
is
I mean that's something always like breathing down our neck, like since we were like young kids, like one day we're gonna turn out like like the what happened in Iran, like the Iran Revolution.
oh yeah,
That's something breathing down our neck. Oh, one day we're gonna be like Iran, and one day we're gonna be like Iran. But then, but like Turkey has become conservative in its own kind of way, and it's still like a transition period. Still, it's going, it's going really bad. I don't know. I don't know. Like I stopped watching the news a long time ago, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a little too hard to take it all in.
Yeah.
No, I can't blame you. Like I have to do that here, and it's not as bad here as it is in Turkey, but even so, I'm like, oh god, like what boneheaded thing are people doing now? Like this is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, man.
Yeah, is now question in America when things become more conservative, they also generally tend to become more religious. Is that also true in Turkey?
Yes, unfortunately, even more so probably.
Okay. And the dominant religion in Turkey is Islam, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. 99% is Islamic here, and yeah. But like like when I grow up, it was like more like as I said, this founder of modern Turkey, really interesting historical figure. When he came into power, he said he wiped out the Pope, the Islamic Pope, the head of the religion. He
Right.
said, "This is no more." Imagine that. Imagine like what a huge, like bold statement that is. And then like we grew up with like this notion of like separation of church and state was like the mosque and state was very essential, and like it's very, how you say, and still is for some portion of Turks. It's very emotional. It's like very. This is our heritage. Like we're like proud of like separating church and state. We're proud of like separating ourselves from the religious way of living your life and like imposing it. And then, as I say, like we're going to turn like Iran fear, this fear of like, oh, we're getting more and more conservative. It's like it creates an even like more polarized atmosphere. You can imagine with like this
I
people
can.
like, and you said like Syria is next door, ISIS is next door.
Hmm.
Like all this like trouble is next door. So like we have obviously like we have very extremely religious fanatic people here living together with like very super liberal, open-minded people, and it creates a weird cultural mix.
Yeah, I've seen. So you were talking about how uh, it sounds like what you're talking about is that there's a lot of fear about the future, about which way this is going to go.
Of course, like
Yeah.
imagine like the fear of like the what happened with those shootings in Orlando,
Oh
and
yeah.
imagine the depression of Trump. the stuff that Trump is doing. Like we have that maybe 10, 15 times a year, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really weird. Like, America in many ways is getting off light, but it's often just as scary. It's just not as deadly. The mortality rate of our political shifts is not nearly as great.
Yeah.
Which is something I gotta be honest, I'm very thankful for. But on the other hand, sometimes when I talk to people, I feel like sometimes I feel like how to put it? I always feel weird because I'm always having to balance the feeling of like, no, you're right, this is something to be concerned with, but at the same time realize we live in paradise. We live in a relative paradise. Now, paradise is a little bit more fragile than we would like to admit. And that's what makes it scary. But let's not pretend we don't have it really well, that we don't still have it very well. Could still lose everything, won't lie. But as it stands, things are pretty good.
Toronto felt like a paradise to me. Like Toronto felt like very distant, far away from the worries of the world in a way.
Yeah,
when I went to Toronto.
I know what you mean. Did you? So yeah, you went there for the TIFF, right?
Yes, the world premiere of Baskin, which was also my honeymoon.
Oh,
yes.
Aha!
I went there with my wife.
Oh man. So so you've been married just like a couple years now.
Yeah, like we got married like 2 weeks before TIFF.
Oh, that must have felt great.
Yeah, like our honeymoon was TIFF, Fantastic Fest in Austin. We came back 1 week break. Sitges in Barcelona.
Oh.
And then Mexico, Morbido in Mexico. And then AFI Fest in LA. And then Stockholm. And then come back. And this was all paid by the festivals, obviously. And,
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, they do that.
We paid for my wife's ticket, and then like all my tickets and our hotels are paid by the festivals. So for the price of one plane ticket, we had an amazing once in a lifetime honeymoon. So that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Watching lots of films.
I have to say, what was your favorite? What was your favorite film?
Oh, it's very difficult to put. Like, it's impossible to say because, like, all those festivals have their own different atmospheres and different films. But like, one of my fondest memories, I watched The Invitation.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, I watched it with the director in present, in an open air theater with Tim Leake, the Draft House, Alamo Draft House owner, and. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's something happening at the end of the movie which they kind of did with the waiters in the screening, and that made it really special and unique. That
Nice.
Tim Lee, he's a wizard of cinema and like watching films, man. Like when I went to Austin Fantastic Fest 5 years ago with my short film, there was a filmmaker's luncheon in his house, and then every time it was like a different theme, and that year it was an Indian theme. It was a Tamil film. Tamil region is this like certain region from India. They have like crazy films. They say the government puts LSD on their waters, Those Tamil films, man, I'm telling you, they're like Alejandro Jodorowsky films.
Oh, I love Jodorowsky.
So like we watched this movie called I Am God, Nam Kadavul. The title was I Am God, and there was like Indian food, like Tamil food, on the garden of Tim Lee, and it was a beautiful experience watching that there. It was crazy.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that film, but I've never seen it.
It's crazy. It's rare that I ran into anybody who's heard of it anyway.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I've heard it mentioned whenever I talk about like, you know, the cinema of other countries, occasionally someone from India will be like, "You ever heard of this movie, I Am God?" And I'm like, "No, what's it about?" So I know nothing about the movie except for the title, and I'm like, if I ever find this and watch it, I wonder what I'm in for.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Oh man. So I did want to ask you something, because I did notice this with the poster of Housewife. It has the Hand of Glory on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Is the
By the way, I'm live feeding you on my Instagram account now.
Oh, please do.
All right.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
That hand actually, like, it's kind of like representative of the feeling of the film, but it's not actually like something that we're gonna see in the film per se. But I think that was the cover of my presentation when I went to pitch the project in a Belgian genre co-production market, and people liked it a lot, and then we kept it.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, for those of you at home, the Hand of Glory is an old talisman that is said to be the hand of a hanged thief. And if each of its fingers is like a little candle, and if you light it when you enter into a house, anyone who is asleep within the house will be paralyzed, and you will be allowed to steal anything you want.
What? I didn't know about this, man.
That's one of the interpretations of the legend.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's also the hand of Fatima. You know, I think it's more like Persian or something. This hand with the eye in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also like the hand of Fatima. Like, it's not really Turkish. It's more like Middle Eastern.
Yeah. If you're bringing up Fatima, yeah. Oh man. So what is the Hand of Glory in that context? Because I mainly know like Western witchcraft and things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, here it's more about like. Here it's more about like there's this, like, you know, in Islamic culture there's all these this demons called jinns.
Yes.
So it's all about jinns here, man. Like, it's even the Turkish horror films. We have lots of Turkish horror films, but they're not transgressive. You know, that's my problem with the Turkish horror films here. First of all, they're done with like really badly. None of the directors would probably have seen any Argento or Fulci or Gaspar Noé movies. Maybe Gaspar Noé, but like, you know, or Carpenter, you know, and they don't share the same passion as I do, probably. But more importantly, they're not transgressive. You know, they're not really poking at the culture that they're living in. Rather than it's more like kind of saying, "Oh, if you're a bad guy, the God will have you," kind of like a thing, which is kind of like dumb at the end of the day, boring.
Well, it's a comfortable story. It's a story that's probably a little too comfortable.
Exactly.
You know, I have to agree. I had to agree with Bernard Rose, the director of Candyman. He was like, the best art is transgressive, and that's the nature of it.
Exactly.
You know, one of
I met him in Mexico.
Oh, how did that go?
It was really good. Like, he was there with his new Frankenstein movie. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen his new Frankenstein movie.
It's a weird film. Anyway, he was there with that Frankenstein film, and we had a nice chat. It was really good. He's like a really cool guy. By the way, Count Jackula, you have to go to Fantastic Fest and Sitges if you can.
And
these two festivals you have to check out.
Fantastic Fest and Sitges?
Sitges. You ever heard about Sitges?
No, that one I've never heard of.
Sitges is the biggest genre festival in the world, going on for like 40 years now.
How do you spell it?
Sitges. Sitges.
Oh,
It's in
it's
Barcelona. It's next to
Barcelona.
Barcelona. It's like a city of its own next to Barcelona. And you know, I met Eli Roth there, and Argento and Cronenberg and all the masters of horror have at some point been there. You know, also like it's like a big festival. It's like a state-sponsored genre festival, which is like very rare in the world. Not only in America or Europe, like it's like a really on its own. It's like a league on its own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I found the website and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, they're talking about the on the front page, the one that came up was the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Mm. Yes, recently seen that.
Yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah, well, like one of the things that I thought was I really do have to agree with the idea that if art is not transgressive, it's not really doing its job. You know,
Yes.
there's just something about something that you're to me art is almost the realm of taboo. This is the everything about art in my opinion is kind of like should kind of have that like like you were saying earlier, like that old guy who's like tells you all about the evil thing that happened over there and you shouldn't don't cross the bridge and
Yes.
don't step off the path. But of course that always comes with the implicit understanding that you have to step off the path. It's this kind of bizarre reverse psychology where the dominant culture tells you the things you're not supposed to do. But the problem is, in order for things to advance, in order for you to be a full human being, you have to actually experience the forbidden. But the dominant culture can't just tell you to do it, because if it does, then you're not going to get the real lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always like rebelling to your family. It always comes down to like rebelling to your parents, I think, and it's like a reflection on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you always need to diso I as I became older, I ran into a friend of mine, my wife's boss actually. Um she was explaining to another mother how she handles her daughter. And she's like, yeah, my daughter did all kinds of things she wasn't supposed to do. And she's like, no, you can't let her. And she's like, what are you talking about? Kids need to get away with stuff. They need to get away with things. You need to watch them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
knew everything
Exactly.
she was doing, but I let her get away with it as long as she didn't go too far.
I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't. It's like difficult to where to draw the line on those things, right?
Oh, it is. It is. It's
So,
very
like,
difficult.
are you a father yourself?
I am not. I am not, but I've dealt with a lot of children. Um, I, I actually kind of like kids. Um, it's not where I don't spend the majority of my time around them, but I find their being around them, their perspective on things be very refreshing because they are fantastically and beautifully unconcerned with what other people think. And that
Fantastic. I'm concerned of what other people think. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're so beautifully unconcerned with that. And they'll just tell you things. They'll just tell you things like it's the greatest thing that has ever existed. Like if a kid gets like a kid gets a puppy, right? And they've
Hmm.
wanted a puppy, they will tell you everything about the puppy. You do not care about the minutia of this puppy. You don't care. You're like, yeah, I got this puppy and he's got a spot right here on his leg. And you're like, oh my God, kid, I don't care. But the kid cares so much. The kid
Yeah.
cares so much. I always find myself going, that is the greatest dog your puppy that has ever existed, kid. I just allow myself to be drawn into their enthusiasm, you know. because I feel like that's one of the things about a relationship with our relationship with children, which is it's not that they're not these perfect little things that we have to keep pure. It's this beautiful potential that you are kind of in charge of helping find itself. You know, you
Yes.
prepare it for the world rather than shield them from it, you know, because the world's a
Yeah.
scary place. You
It
know,
is.
it's
It
rough
is.
out there.
I'm
You
always
know,
like thinking like when am I going to allow my kids, at what age I'm going to allow my kids to watch what movie, you know? It's like a
I know.
difficult line to draw, you know? Like am I going to allow them to like watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they're 12, or like am I going to allow them to watch Chucky when they're 8, you know? It's weird.
Well,
Probably not.
I'm a bad person to ask because my father showed me John Carpenter's The Thing when I was 7. I was 7 years
Awesome.
old. This is the first like real horror movie I
That's
ever
good
seen.
coming from. Huh? That's awesome.
Wow. No, that movie wrecked me. I was not the same person at the end of that film. Like my dad, the movies that we really loved that we had in common. This is all as they came out. Like it was John Carpenter's The Thing, Blade Runner. Those were like our movies that he took me to see. That like has just
Boom.
kind of changed my perspective on everything.
That's awesome,
You
man.
know, yeah. And my dad hid very little from me. There were some things that obviously made him uncomfortable, you know, and some things that he's like, yeah, when you're old enough, we'll talk about that kind of thing. But he didn't shy away from questions that I had about like movies or stories or anything like that. Like he explained to me as like I had to have been like 8 or 9. He explained to me the end of Blade Runner. Like he just flat out explained it, and I was like, Dad, what's going on? He's like, well, the mystery is at the end, is the replicant more human than the human? You know, is the robot
That's
more human than the human? That's the
yeah.
question, son. You know, so if that's true, what does that mean to be a person? You know, he
Awesome,
never.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome
yeah,
talk. That's a
yeah.
precious thing to have share with your father, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like we talk about every time. We don't talk all that often, but when we do, it's always like that. You know, like my
That's
brother had to explain to his girlfriend at one point. He's just like, no, 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 babe, don't worry about it. They're just gonna do this. They're just gonna do this. They're just gonna. It's not gonna stop. Forget it. They are on the subject of how Taoism influences mythological storytelling. This will never end. Oh, you know, because I've always,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Because
Count. By the way,
yes.
sorry for interrupting. I think I need to get going at this point. Is
Geez,
I like
yes. It's been an
I
hour.
didn't realize I was gonna like go on, but like we were talking so cool, and like we have to do this again. Hopefully, like if you would want, I
Oh,
would love to be like here again.
oh, yes,
And
absolutely.
right now, like I'm in the. I told you right, like I'm in the middle of editing my film still,
Yes.
and like from here, I'll go to the Foley studio now. And from the Foley studio, I'm gonna go to meet this like FX guy, and then we're gonna be editing for a probably like good 8-10 hours the rest of the day,
God, you
and like
gotta.
it's like early morning for me, like and like a boost to wake up with this awesome Count Jackula show. And from here on, like I'm just gonna like put my head back into the beyond, and like it's like editing this movie, like it's like a really one big head trip, man. Like
Oh yeah.
it's really it's like it's almost like exercising my personal demons. And it's once when you're the writer, director, editor of a film which goes into dreams and like whatnot and like really gory scenes, it really becomes like difficult not to lose your way in your mind. It's like a trip. It's really like a trip.
I have to mention this before you go there. Have you seen the movie The Editor?
The new one.
Yeah, the one that was done by Astron 6.
Astron 6 movie, amazing poster, but no, I haven't seen it because like they told me it's like a horror comedy, right?
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, but it's a horror comedy about what you just talked about, what you just said.
You know what? Okay, I'll watch it then because I kind of like I'm very picky with my horror comedies. You know, I like horror comedies like a really difficult line to walk.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, I like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Did you watch that?
Oh yes, Tucker and Dale versus Evil is great.
Yeah, and I love Brain Dead, and I love Shaun of the Dead. Brain Dead is known as like it's like, is it Evil? Is Peter Jackson's Brain Dead is known by the title Brain Dead? There?
Yeah, God damn it. I always know this goddamn thing. Yeah, Peter Jackson's like zombie movie. In most of the world it's Brain Dead, but to us it is
Evil. Some other title. Anyway, yeah. That's to me like the epitome of like horror comedy. Anyway. Yes. So.
And if you like Italian horror movies, it is a special treat because that's what they're doing the entire time. It's a big riff on like Fulci and Argento and all those guys.
I'm putting it on my list.
Oh yeah, no,
I should check out soon. So where do you mainly watch films?
I buy a lot of Blu-rays. I watch a lot of Netflix, and I have a lot of other ways of getting movies.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's talk more about it next time. But for the moment now, I need to bolt.
Yeah. I'll let you go.
Thank you so much for this awesome talk.
Yeah. I'll send you my address because I definitely want that bill. Yes, I definitely want one of those. That looks amazing. Well, okay. John, it was great talking to you. Thanks for coming down to the stream and having a chat. It's been a real thrill.
Thank you, man. Let's do this again.
Oh, yeah, please. All right, say hello to your wife and all the crew for me, and good luck. Can't wait for the release of Housewife.
Will do. Thank you very much. Take good care and keep in touch.
I will. Take care. Greetings, Fright Nights and Monster Girls. Do you know who's sexy? People who donate on Patreon are sexy. And as a reward for your sexiness, you get to see all the uncensored versions of all the videos if you donate any amount. So donate now and join the Children of the Night and support fucked up movies.